The following podcast is provided by Era Living, innovator in residential retirement options since 1987. And welcome everyone back to Answers for Elders Radio Network with our special guest, the staff of Era Living. And you know, living in a senior living community, there's all kinds of things that go on. Obviously, in a building, things break, things maybe get outdated, everything like that. And one of the things that's really exciting about Era Living is they have their own in-house person that is the director of what they call Capital Projects. And I'm excited to introduce all of you to Kristina Chalfant. And Kristina, welcome to Answers for Elders.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristina, tell us a little bit about what does the director of Capital Projects do?
A bunch of different things. I'm responsible for a team of project managers and a project coordinator, a facilities team, a paint crew, and a procurement coordinator. And our team is responsible for doing renovation projects, keeping the communities fresh and safe and clean, and for taking care of emergency repairs, like if the roof is leaking, or if there's a pipe burst or something like that, if the boilers stop working. We've got painters that go and keep the paints touched up and fresh looking in the communities. And our procurement guy is responsible for negotiating contracts and getting us the best deals, helping us with purchasing for across the communities.
Sure. And obviously when a resident moves in, every community has a maintenance person on staff. I'm assuming they're a part of your division. Is that correct?
We have facilities maintenance teams that are based at the communities, and then we have a regional team that they come in to support if we've got people that are out, or if there's something that's just a little more complicated and we need all hands on deck. Like if the fire alarm panel breaks, they might need a little more support, or if the trash compactor is not working, or we need to repave the parking lot or something like that. So we provide bigger support for that.
And obviously, I would imagine when a new resident comes in, before they go into an apartment, there's a quality control thing that goes on in the apartment when they move in. Is that correct? Do they make sure that everything's working appropriately and everything like that?
They do a walkthrough, and in some of the communities that are a little bit more dated, we've been going in and doing more full unit renovations where we are replacing cabinets and plumbing fixtures. We're putting in LED lighting, new carpet and paint, so the unit just looks a little more fresh and new.
Absolutely. So when somebody moves in, what do they expect? What happens with maintenance team?
The maintenance team does the inspections to make sure everything's working properly, and they should be introducing themselves, get to know the new residents, welcome them on board, and let them know that if anything comes up during their stay in our communities, they're going to be there to provide support, whether it's replacing batteries or light bulbs, but also the bigger picture things, making sure the resident feels confident that they don't have to worry about maybe the siding needs to be repaired in a few years, or maybe the roof's going to need to be replaced, or, we're making sure that the gutters and downspouts are cleaned, making sure the landscaping is maintained. There are a lot of things that are taken care of that hopefully are visible to the residents.
Sure. And I can only imagine too, that with your overall when a resident moves in, they might have some safety concerns, like, for example, if they have mobility challenges or things like that. Do you, I'm sure your apartments are accessible, but if they need more support, do you have those abilities to put in like extra grab bars or things like that, or maybe some AI type situations? Do you ever deal with anything like that?
We can install grab bars, and we have done that in many occasions to provide people more assistance. All the communities should have grab bars in the restrooms, but sometimes we need a little bit more, like a grab bar in the shower, so you don't slip and fall. Might need a little bit more throughout. We also have emergency call, so there's a check-in button, and if they need help and don't get to a phone to make the phone call, they can use their emergency call.
Yeah, I remember when my mom lived in an assisted living community, she had a little wristband, and she could push that button and they would respond, or, say, what do you need? I'm assuming you guys have something similar, do you not?
Similar idea. It's a button on the wall, and easy to access. So you don't need,
Got it. Got it. And then obviously, interaction with care staff and things like that. Are there some sort you've got to do a lot of collaboration with many departments, obviously. How does that work in safety?
In safety, some of it is just taking care of things that we observe, but also hearing from the communities, like, hey, this sidewalk has lifted because the tree roots, can you come take care of it? Or,
Yeah.
hey, we've noticed that this area keeps having water come in, where's the water coming from? Is there a broken pipe? Is there a problem with waterproofing? Is the roof leaking? So a lot of what we're hearing, or a lot of what we do, is also in response to the community, or like, hey, these chairs don't look like they're performing very well anymore. We need new chairs in here. They're getting old.
Yeah. And obviously, the day-to-day things are the residents happy with, where things are or anything like that. The point is that you're able to do some things that can maybe brighten up, or design choices, I would imagine. Would you share with us a little bit about how you work with that as far as design, or color, furniture height, etc.?
Oh, sure. We within the units, we try to keep it fairly neutral and light and bright for the residents. But in the common areas, we want it to be somewhat stimulating and comforting, something that all the residents would like. But we have such a broad range of residents. We've got newer residents that are coming in, or we might have their families that are the first contact to check out the space. And as people continue to live here, we might have a 40-year gap between a new resident and someone that's lived here a really long time. And it's a really big demographic group to try to appeal to. So we try to keep that in mind. We try to keep accessibility in mind, and make everyone feel included. So we want to make sure there's a room for everyone at the table. And if you're in a meeting room, that you can hear. So there might be some sort of hearing assistant devices that we put in, so that people can hear better or have better sound systems.
Absolutely.
We make sure that people can read the font on the signage, and that there's the right height, and they can get back out of them when after they're seating.
Yeah, it's being mindful of living the greatest quality of life, I can imagine, with how, each day when a resident wakes up, they know that there's attention, they don't have to worry about all those things. And I think that's the thing that's so great. If a resident, let's say, has a repair, or they find they need help in something, do you handle that as well?
Our team supports that, whether it's the community specific facilities team, or if it's the renovations team or facilities from the home office. We figure out who's most appropriate to address whatever that need is.
That's great.
Some things we try to identify ahead of time. We have a look ahead kind of 10-year plan, where we look at each community and we see, like, well, what needs to be done in the next year, up to 3 years, what's more urgent versus, okay, well, we know that we just did this. When do we need to next touch it? And we put it into that plan, so that we're looking ahead and trying to coordinate it, and not have everything be an emergency where, oops, we didn't think of that.
And you have a new community right now that's under construction, and I suppose you're very much involved in that.
We have one in planning right now. Yes.
Yes, in planning. So you're very involved in that, I'm sure.
Yes, and it's helpful having the experience with all 8 existing communities of what's working and what's not, and kind of thinking ahead, like, well, if we could start from scratch, what would we do? What would be the best solution?
And I can only imagine building a brand new community from scratch. It'll probably become the new flagship, as you evolve. And that's the exciting part of, this type of world that we live in, because technology has really allowed us to do things that we couldn't do before, which is really exciting too.
That's true. And it's interesting too, with the new energy codes and all of the new technology for the building systems. The new buildings should be so much more energy efficient and so much more comfortable in that way too.
Yeah. I can, and I, just thinking about, what we know today compared to what we knew 15 years ago, it's amazing, right? And there's all kinds of things like artificial intelligence that's now helping to detect if somebody falls or anything like that. That's what's amazing about the world, what's happening. So are you guys involved in any of that kind of stuff yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not as in touch with what the IT group is looking into. We've been looking more from the security standpoint, being able to secure the exterior doors and what
Yeah, that's important too.
Convenient locking systems for inside as well. Like, do you need a manual key, or maybe a fob's a little bit easier? Things like that. And you can track who's coming and going. It's more secure and easier to keep on top of.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously with your residents and with the apartment buildings and how they operate, I'm sure you're doing a survey of if the resident's been there for a long time. There's things that are bound to happen. You're really involved throughout their tenancy. Is that correct?
Yes, we really try to make the building's environment where people can stay. They can stay as they progress. Whether they become healthier or not as healthy, they can age in place, and we're able to hopefully accommodate all of their needs. And if we need to bring the care to the resident, or whatever, if we need to build more into their unit to make it accommodate them a little bit better.
Yeah. Kristina, it has been such an honor to have you with us, and I hope you'll come back again and talk to us again.
Thank you.
To every one of you, again, Era Living, they have an amazing staff that is there for you. And if you're interested in checking them out, just go to Era Living, that's ERA Living, LIVING.com. Era Living is locally owned and operates 8 premier retirement communities in Seattle, Renton, Mercer Island, Bellevue, and Issaquah. From vibrant, independent living to compassionate assisted living to secure memory care, Era Living respects and honors older adults by enhancing the quality of their lives. Learn more at eraliving.com.